Ireland has always been fast, but at this weekend's Shannon's Nationals round, these categories are taking speed to a whole new level. A new track surface and plenty of competition have driven the Australian GT Championship and Radical Australia Cup to new heights this weekend. And whilst they might not trouble the track record, the Suzuki Swift Racing Series makes their debut here and should put on plenty of fun racing. Welcome to Phillip Island, home of round 3, the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals. Reigning Australian Formula 4 champion Jack Le Brocq makes his first time switch to GT cars this weekend, and it's a case of so far so good for the Erebus Academy driver.
It's been a great weekend so far. I was viewing the Australian GT Championship with Erebus and Mercedes SLS, so yeah, it's quite full on and really enjoyed it so far. Last year I won the 2012 Australian Formula 4 Championship with Minder Motorsport, and yeah, I've done some racing overseas in the UK and yeah, bits and pieces here and there. Obviously I was racing with, was a part of the Erebus Academy earlier in the year. We got involved in that for the Australian Formula 3 Championship with Bathurst in Tasmania. So yeah, that all went quite well and just came about discussions through the team that they didn't have a driver for Phillip Island this weekend, so yeah, decided to step up and yeah, give it a go really.
With all of his experience coming from light and nimble open wheelers, Le Brocq says jumping into the Erebus AMG is an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, so it's Bathurst 12-hour winning race car, so yeah, it's had some quite great drivers in there with Bernd Schneider and Thomas Jayers, so yeah, it's a pretty cool car to drive. It's awesome, I don't know, words can't really describe it. It's just great, like it's driven supercars and that sort of stuff, but yeah, this car definitely tops the cars I've driven before.
Like so many young drivers, Le Brocq has trod the path from Australian Formula Ford racing, but he says the skills do transfer.
Obviously racecraft and obviously how you drive the cars and that sort of stuff, it sort of translates all over to different categories. Obviously you got to change your driving style here and there to suit the cars, but yeah, it's just great. It's obviously the amount of miles that you do in Formula Ford for the price, it's great and it's taught me a lot in that sense.
GT driver Jim Manolas now joins us, just trying out the wets. Were you feeling pretty comfortable out there?
Yeah, the track's actually quite good. There's a dry line coming up, it's not raining anymore, and we were just preparing these tyres for the race, scrubbing the polish off them.
Clark, here we are, round 3. What are your hopes for the weekend?
Bank a heap of points this weekend. You know, Phillip Island's not my favourite track. It's not a bad track, but it's just a track that historically don't do that well at compared to other tracks. So I really just want to come here and bank a heap of points. We've got a new paint job on the car, so I'm hoping that's going to bring a bit of luck and just try to get in front of the field. There's some new competition in the field. Jack Le Brocq in the Mercedes, so he'll be quick. He's a champion, so he'll be quick. We've got Roger Largo in the Lambo, and he's always quick, very consistent. And Johnny Bauer and Peter Edwards in the Ferrari, so it's you know, all good competition. So it'll just be a matter of staying on the track and banking a heap of points at the end of the weekend.
Cars are on track at a somewhat greasy Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, round 3 of the Australian GT Championship, presented by Pirelli, and it's a Mercedes AMG Aston Martin front row based on the results of race 1 held on Saturday. Roger Largo from 3rd in the Lamborghini, and the Ferrari to be co-driven by Peter Edwards and Bathurst champion John Bowe going from the inside of the 2nd row. Darren Smith is alongside me. Yesterday's race was dominated by Jack Le Brocq, the rookie who's been doing Formula 3 racing this year. He stepped up into the Erebus Motorsport squad in that SLS AMG and has been going so well. Qualified on pole with a stunning lap in the 126s. Out-qualified John Bowe by a full second. He starts from pole in the rolling start here at Phillip Island. Green flag, they're underway. And that thunderous horsepower from the 6.3-litre Mercedes AMG leads them to turn 1. Clean start here at the island.
That's a well-dictated start there by Jack Le Brocq, really using the torque available of that V8 from the AMG stable, but the Ferrari managing to get down there. Look at that, Griffith's gone round. That is a nasty spot there, thank goodness. That new hard stand off the newly resurfaced Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit was there.
So trouble for one of the Ginettas. They run in their class just at the back of the field, but great little car, and it's great to see 4 of them here at the island this weekend. A couple of the Audis, Dean Koutsamidis and Andrew McInnes Equity One Finance car. Clark Quinn there in the Porsche, the defending Australian GT Championship. Jim Manolas in the Corvette. Jack Perkins there in one of the Ginettas. He's sharing that car this weekend with Griffith, and had a pretty strong result yesterday, and Jack just working his way forward over the weekend in his Aussie GT debut.
And that was Keith Kasuki in the Ginetta GT4. They're running on the Pirelli DM spec tyres this year. Of course, the DH being the control tyre across the championship series.
LeBrock down into MG, smashed the field yesterday, absolutely dominated the race, and only lost the lead during the compulsory pit stops. Darren Berry with an off in his number 50 car. So he's just parked off the side of the road, and that has brought out the safety car. So now this is what happens. So this is the car we're talking about. Keith Kasuki and Berry. And wow, Fossel in the Porsche just taking evasive action, and you're right, that new hard stand has properly done its job. So a brief safety car intervention. Cars are grouped up behind the Shannon's National safety car. We'll get a race restart very, very shortly. To finish my point, LeBrock smashed them in race one. New lap record, 127.5. And if you'd said 12 years ago that, or 2 years ago, that they'd be doing 27s at Phillip Island GT cars, you'd get smacked in the face a bit, because these cars are now going so fast.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? A tribute to the property here have spent a fortune on the resurface. And of course, the new Pirelli tyre is also coming out with some great compliments across the board for not only pace, but longevity and endurance on them as well. So really being enjoyed by the Australian GT Championship field.
Tony Quinn in that brand new Aston Martin Vantage, the 6-litre V12 out in front. The current spec GT3 car. We've seen the DB9 running in Australian GT competition in the past, but the Vantage is the new weapon, and Quinney has been driving it exceptionally well this weekend. A great drive to second place in race one, and held out a fairly concerted challenge from Roger Largo in the Lamborghini in that race as well.
He certainly ticked the box on the Aston next to his favourite car, hasn't he? He had a bit of a foray with the Ferrari going back some time ago, and of course they've got that fantastic championship winning VIP Pet Foods Porsche in the stable as well, but he likes that Aston.
So here's the 50 Ginetta. It's in pit lane, and they're just rolling through. You can see the V6 engine just mounted back of the forward axle in that car. Great balanced little racing car. And I mentioned Jack Perkins driving. I spoke to him before this race, and he said, yeah, they're a really good thing to drive. They just don't have the outright grunt that they need, but they're a GT4 spec car. They're not the GT3 cars that make up the leading bunch in Australian GT this year. And we should also mention that most of these cars now have copped a 2013 upgrade at not inconsiderable expense, but the performance just continues to move on forward in GT racing.
One of the ones that's had the upgrade is right behind this car with Dean Koutsamidis at the wheel and Andrew McGuinness in the Equity 1 Audi, and that is the Justin McMillan Lamborghini, full LP 600 F2 specification on that car, being looked after by Ash Seawood. And the GB galvanising crew have been doing a little bit of Victorian State Series racing this year, but he has been the champion in the Victorian State Series for the last 2 years in a row.
Here's the Ferrari. Let's have a listen. Great noise, isn't it? The screaming V8 still revs well in advance of 8,000 RPM. And Peter Edwards has done a good job this weekend. John Bowe co-driving as he has done for the Maranello Motorsport team for some time, but Pete Edwards just gets faster and faster. The more laps he does, the more experience he gains, the better and better he gets.
Fantastic looking 2013 Spec 458 Italia as well. It really is an amazing take on the V8. The Mercedes has that thumping AMG V8 noise, yet the scream that is synonymous with V8 Ferraris just sounds magnificent in the GT field.
9,000 RPM from a 4.5-litre V8 is impressive too. This is Roger Largo, the Queenslander, holding out to fellow Queenslander Clark Quinn, the reigning champion in Australian GT in the 2013 spec GT3R Porsche. It's great to see Porsche back at the front of Australian GT. David Wall, a couple of years back, won 2 championships driving the Porsche, the Cup S model, but they disappeared there, and the Ferraris and Lamborghinis especially, and the Audis took over, but Clark did a great job last year, and this is a very handy car. We saw the Ginetta spear off. Let's hear from one of their drivers. Summit is down with Keith Kasuki.
Unfortunately, right on the start, just entering turn 1 at the braking point, my throttle jammed wide open.
No good.
Pretty awful place that happened. So no, and I obviously got a brake lock up, spun the car, finished up in a fairly precarious position there, right in the apex of turn 1. So I managed to release the throttle, but the guys, we're not going out. It's too much. It's too dangerous risking that happening again.
Well, there's only one other spot that I'd be more worried about a throttle getting stuck open, and that's over the top of Mount Panorama. Turn 1 at Phillip Island, 250 odd k's an hour, if not more, in one of these cars.
No matter how much hardtop they put off the driver's left there, where generally you spear off, you do not want to be out of control of your car. Turn 1 at Phillip Island because, well, the famous Southern Loop looms just 100 metres or so up there. That's where we're seeing LeBrock carving through some of these back markers, and what a debut. Formula Ford champion from last year. This is some of the crew from Erebus Motorsport. Haven't they lifted the level of presentation? Awesome outfit, Erebus Motorsport.
Yeah, of course, a crushing victory in the Bathurst 12 Hour earlier this season for that team with their trio of international drivers. The Aussie car that had Lee Holdsworth, Peter Hackett and Tim Slade driving was in contention right up to the last hour. So that's really spurred them on. They put Jack LeBrock in this car. Craig Baird drove it at the Clipsal 500 and won brilliantly. And LeBrock has just been so impressive. Reigning Australian Formula Ford champion. He's on the first 2 rounds of the Aussie F3 Championship as well, and actually sits 4th in the championship for Erebus there. But there's talk around that he's going to switch to GT now for the remainder of this year to get his touring car career on track. Certainly doing the job so far.
Michael Hovey and the motor school driver there of George Fossil just getting out of the way of that magnificent Aston Martin Vantage. Back on board here with Clark Quinn, car number 1. Took that great championship win in the streets of Sydney late last year. He said it was fantastic. The crowd around almost over the top of the car. Great speed onto the straight there and chasing down Roger Largo. He knows all about a Porsche.
And Roger, in his second Lamborghini, the other car, big crash at Bathurst, so bought another one that he ran at the Clipsal 500, finished on the podium. It's now running that black JBS paint scheme. Looks awesome, that car. And running pretty strongly at the moment in 3rd place with Clark applying the pressure. Roger's been one of the stout performers in this series. He's a former 2-time GT3 Cup Challenge champion in the Porsche Championship. There's plenty going on down in VIP Pet Foods. Pit stop's not far away either. Let's hear more from pit lane. Here's Summer Bode.
Quinn's in 4th, but you're watching Roger Largo. Tell us about it.
Well, there's not much difference between the car. Clark can run as quick as him, but we don't seem to have the power to pass him with the way the parity is this year. So I'm going to try and undercut him in the pits. We'll see how we go there.
So that's Jason Dunstan, team manager at VIP Pet Foods. Pit stops are starting. The Australian GT Championship just revving up here at Phillip Island. We're back at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, an appropriately coloured seat for the Italian supercar that John Bower is about to jump into. We're midway through the second 1-hour race at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit for the Australian GT Championship presented by Pirelli as part of round 3 of the Shannons Nationals. Richard Krall, Darren Smith with you today, and this is the compulsory pit stop. Peter Edwards bringing the car in, hit the marks, get the car to 40 k's an hour and jump out of the race car.
Hasn't the guys at Maranello Motorsport, Joe Sasso and the guys, put a big effort into the bucket seat there for John Bowe, all in the Italian colours. VIP Pet Foods on board with Clark Quinn now challenging all over Roger Largo. The big brakes of the Porsche, slight understeer. Was there a bit of a nudge at the wheel there?
Well, it might have been. He just got the thing turned in though, and Clark gets that position away from Largo. They've been dicing from the start. So there's Bowe's seat insert. So if you haven't seen one of those before, just a foam insert covered in race tape basically, but just gets the driver's seating position right so they don't have to move the seat. And compulsory driver change for these two who are elected to run the 2 drivers. And of course, because they've got a seated driver, professional driver in the car, they have a bit of extra time allocated to them to spend in pit lane. So there's no rush. It's all very controlled. Maranello pretty experienced at this.
Yeah, they certainly know what they're doing. An old set of Pirellis being moved off, a new set being on. Actually, they look like they were roaded tyres as well. So a couple of Pirellis going on front there. Those guys were very fast in qualifying last season on the Pirellis. Raced on Michelin, but qualified very quickly on Pirellis with Jim Manolius on screen there in the Corvette.
And Roger Largo just having another crack at Clark Quinn. So that goes back to what we heard before the ad break with the team manager at VIP Pet Foods saying that the Lamborghini quicker in a straight line. The Porsche, at the moment, it seems quicker over a lap, but certainly it's very difficult to get past when you've got a car that's much faster in a straight line. As Koutsamidis brings the Equity 1 car in pit lane, let's hear more from pit lane. Summer is down with Audi driver Rod Salmon.
You're a pretty happy man, but it was the first time you had your co-driver with James Winslow. How'd it go?
Yeah, look, James is jumping in the car straight after me. My job was really to hold position out there, and we did. We were right there with the guys that were coming 4th and 5th, so we're right there at 6th and 7th at the moment. I think James will move us up a few spots. The biggest problem today is that wind is coming across, which is great. It's dried out the track, but there's a crosswind that's really buffeting the car around in some corners.
Oh, and Roger Largo off the road. The JBS Lamborghini is going nowhere, but to a parking spot by one of the tyre bundles round the back near the hay shed here at Phillip Island. What a shame for Largo.
That didn't sound so flash last time past the pits in the Lamborghini. Dean just looking on there. Jim Manoy serving his compulsory pit stop.
Not much work going on the Corvette, is there? They're pretty happy with that.
The other thing is that we've just seen Mark Griffith get out and young Jack Perkins jump in the Ginetta. So let's get ready for some GT4 action.
Brett Francis, former racer, at the front with the headset on, just counting down until Tony Quinn's compulsory pit stop ends, and that beautiful sounding V12 Aston Martin leaves the lane and accelerates down towards Bass Straight.
There is an absolute plethora of racing car drivers running teams here this weekend, isn't there? You look up and down and there's a name wherever you look.
Yeah, if you can't drive, put the headset on as Erebus Motorsport go to work. So this is the race leader in. Pirelli off.
One very big rear tyre off that SLS.
Yeah, it takes some effort to carry that, doesn't it? So working side tyres, the right-hand side tyres in these cars. Remember, lots of left-hand corners at Phillip Island puts a lot of load on, and have a look at all the spectators watching the pit stop go on.
Jack LeBrock just looking at the screen there. No rear vision mirror. There's just the camera, like the reversing camera in your road car there, so he can see out the front there. A little bit of controversy going on around the front of the Erebus Motorsport crew there, putting the right front back on there, which is, well, one of the harder working tyres here at Phillip Island.
So they've just decided to keep the tyres they've got on, but they're well within their time allocation. There's the stopwatch. All the work is done. No problems. Team manager Barry Ryan just counting them down, and away they go. He acts as the car controller, and Jack LeBrock, I don't reckon he's going to lose the lead through this sequence. I think this has worked out very, very well. Pit limiter off.
Wow, how's that sound? Fantastic. Anyone who's fans of this GT type sports car racing will love that noise, and it really is great trackside when you hear that kind of car come past, and then a Ferrari, and then the big 4-litre flat 6 of this car, of Clark Quinn coming out of pit lane now. Just amazing. Close your eyes and be anywhere in the world, and luckily we're trackside here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit.
So Quinn gets his stop done. So almost everyone now, by the looks of it, has their compulsory pit stop out of the way. And the Erebus Motorsport driver continues to lead the race. And just in the background, you can see Tony Quinn in the Aston Martin. So it's worked out very well for Erebus. They continue to hold on in front. Let's hear more from the team. Their team manager, Barry Ryan, is down talking with our Summer Bogue.
It's been an unexpected flat tyre there in the change.
Yeah, we always check the pressures during the stop if we're not changing the tyres, and we just found that the right rear was lower than it should have been, so we just changed it to make sure. So it must have a leak or it's had a puncture somewhere, so just a precautionary change, and hopefully it'll be fine now. So
presumably it won't be much of a hiccup for Jack though. He'll be feeling fairly confident out there.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. He said the car went away a bit, which is obviously the puncher, so it'll come back now. He'll be right.
So a little bit more drama, Daz, than perhaps we expected from Erebus Motorsport. Good thing they checked those tyre pressures.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a mark of a true professional team when they take all of the time that they are in the pits to do checks, to tick boxes, and to make good decisions. And that is exactly what we've just seen the Erebus Motorsport team do in the pits. There's the Corvette again, Jim and Ice, the Pirelli Trofeo Motorsport outfit, and Steve McLaughlin, who is on debut in the National Series here this weekend. His car last year at exactly this round with Greg Crick at the wheel won a race.
Yeah, Mopar Dodge. Greg Crick drove that for a couple of seasons, liked it very much, but he's focusing on Touring Car Masters racing now, and it's great to have Steve as part of the championship. He ran that car at a big state round the other weekend at Sandown and did a pretty good job, so he could be one to watch in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly he has been a Porsche man for quite some time, and I've got to say it's great to see a Viper out there, and fantastic that Steve's the man at the wheel.
Right, battle for third is on, and John Bowe flying in the Ferrari. Ferrari v Porsche. It's Ford v Holden of sports car racing, isn't it?
Certainly is. It's a traditional thing. Look at this up the top of the hill. John Bowe, the master at the wheel. Literally his grading is that he's a master in GT Championship trim now. Oh, look at that pumping on the brakes there for Clark Quinn. And wow, that Ferrari gets big up behind the VIP Pet Foods Porsche.
It's just an unbelievable noise, isn't it? That Ferrari and Bow has made up a big chunk of time actually to close in behind Clark Quinn. So this is the battle for third place. Out in front, meanwhile, Jack LeBrock's re-broken the lap record that he set on Saturday with a 1:27.1. And that's almost a full second quicker than anybody else has gone so far this weekend. He is flying. So is the Ferrari in the battle for third. Let's hear more from Maranello Motorsport. Summer is down with their team boss, Mark Coffey.
You guys are looking pretty smooth out there.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see Peter's new efforts, and John's coaching is really coming on. Pete's strengths are just getting better and better every round. And watching, Pete being hunted and now John actually hunting himself, it's a great spectacle.
When you see the partnership come together and gel, it's all the difference.
Yeah, well, it's what this is all about. I think with GT3 racing, I think it's very important to have a pro-am relationship. It's the way the model works overseas. And we see the benefit here today. It's really great to watch.
It is indeed. Now, are you feeling game to predict how this will keep unfolding?
I think John will, fox young Clark. I think it's just applying enough pressure now. You can just see him now. He's reeling him in. So we've got about another 5 laps to go. So hopefully he'll get there.
Yeah, so it really is game on for third. Clark Quinn, though, he'll be up to this. He's got plenty of experience defending in a Porsche.
He's reeling him in, but he's wringing the neck of the Il Bello Rosso Racing 458 Italia. He really has got that steering wheel. A nice, gentle grip on it, but he would love to be tearing this Porsche apart. Have a look at this. He's followed many through here in many different types of cars. And this 458 in the 2013 spec. And haven't the designers of the look of this car just come up with the goods, the gold type racing wheels? It just really sets it apart. This is a fantastic dice, really starting to brew here. And Clark Quinn's going to be learning hand over fist with this absolute legend of Australian motorsport chasing him down.
We mentioned earlier that these cars have, a lot of them got their 2013 upgrades in place now, so a lot of it down to aero components and aero tweaking. Ferrari, I know, with some exciting new bits and pieces on that car. This is the squirt.com.au Audi R8 LMS Ultra, driven by the man on right of screen there, Rod Salmon, and behind the wheel, the reigning Australian F3 champ, James Winslow, who actually raced one of these cars at the Bathurst 12 Hour. He's driving with Rod for the first time. Brilliantly liveried car. Melbourne Performance Centre have got the Ultra going well, and Winslow doing a good job carving his way up through the field. This is the Audi that was slated to get 2013 spec upgrades. It's now reverted to 2012 because of the air restrictor that the FIA GT3 series put on that. So they decided to stay with the 2012 spec. And it's so far chosen to be a good decision by these guys. Yeah, and Winslow lapping within a couple of tenths of the cars in second, third and fourth place in Tony Quinn, Clark Quinn and John Bow. Here's Jack LeBrock, though, starts his final 4.46 Ks of the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. He got pole, he got a race 1 victory, and he's not far away from turning it into a clean sweep this weekend. And Erebus have got this fantastic Wrap My Ride livery, very aggressive compared to the 2012 spec livery, but it looks every bit the winner. Jack LeBrock has done his best race lap on lap 30 on old rubber there, so really enjoying his time at the wheel of the SLS AMG around the bottom end. This is Siberia, and on a weekend like this, everyone trackside knows exactly what that means. It's cold out there. Yeah, pretty cold day too, which makes the track time, the lap times they're doing even more impressive. This guy, speaking of impressive, he's an upstanding young man, very well spoken, pretty reserved, quite quiet, but he does all the media stuff well, but he backs it up with his performance on the racetrack. And as we mentioned, he's the Australian Formula 4 champion. He won in, or finished on the podium in Formula 3 at the start of the year. Erebus Motorsport on pit wall, standing, watching, waiting for the 36 car to come by. And what a debut in Australian GT it's been for Jack LeBrock. Pole, race 1, and now race 2. He swept the weekend at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Great result. A compact crew down there for Erebus. Here comes Tony Quinn in the Aston Martin Vantage. Everyone who's a fan of Aston Martin, get on your feet and cheer him home. Darrell Lee chocolates down the side, and this is it. This is one of Tony's best weekends racing ever. It's all about the chocolates. So he owns a chocolate company, and drives an Aston Martin. I mean, is his life any better than that, possibly?
Well, I'm tipping Tony is pretty happy inside the car right now, and he'll be very happy once he gets out, because this guy, a veteran of GT racing, he's raced with Jim Richards and Peter Fitzgerald in years gone by, and a second place here at round 3.
And this is the battle for third, and Clark Quinn, the defending champ, will hold on. So he staved off John Bowe for a solid 10-lap battle here at Phillip Island, and that's a good race between Ferrari and Porsche. Very evenly matched as we confirm the results. Justin McMillan was 5th in the end in the Lamborghini. Rod Salmon and James Winslow P6 ahead of an Audi with Dean Koutsoumides and McInnes, and Stephen McLaughlin home 8th in the Dodge Viper ahead of Jim Manolius, and Jack Perkins and Mark Griffith 10th in the Ginetta.
Well done, third place in the rain. Here we are, but it's fantastic racing today.
Yeah, it was a great race. The first half of the session was Dyson with Largo, and then the last 10 laps Dyson with Bowery, and we just had the power to keep him behind us, and it's a very wide Porsche, and good luck to anyone trying to get past it.
Well, the reason Clark is smiling is because he's actually extended his lead in the Australian GT Championship, a comfortable 50-odd point margin now over Tony Quinn. Largo to third despite his DNF, and Craig Baird, who only did one round with Erebus, sits in fourth. Of Peter Edwards and John Bowe, 6 in the Ferrari. In the GT Challenge class, it's Ben Fossel leading his dad George in the battle of the Porsches, with Brendan Cook running third. And in the GT Trophy class, it's McLaughlin with a great weekend on his debut in the category, leading the way ahead of Jordan Ormsby's Porsche. In GT Sports, Michael Hovey has the margin over Tony Martin, Darren Berry third, and Mark Griffith fourth in the Ginetta.
Yeah, the race was quite good. We got a good start and made a good gap after the safety car restart. And yeah, we were quite lucky. We had the puncher in the right rear when we did. We pitted, so yeah, actually we were quite lucky and worked out quite well. But yeah, it's good to be able to walk away with an extended lap record and go down to low 27. So yeah, it was a great race.
You know, the Aston's really good here, and I just tried to keep up a steady pace, and it seems to hang on quite well around the fast corners. So for an old fella, it was easier than it looked.
Well, a great weekend of racing in Australian GT here at Phillip Island, and some happy winners on the podium too. A short break from Phillip Island. When we come back, the High Tech Oil Swift Racing Series, the Radical Australia Cup hit the racetrack.